Welcome to the Doggy Dutch audio stories, where oracle card readings open into reflections on manifestation, systems, sovereignty, and everyday life. Brought to you by the Etsy shop Alchemy of Me, the Thesis of Us social justice framework, and the Walking the Universe ecosystem for manifestation. Episode 16. Have you ever caught yourself paying more attention to what was running out than to what was still there? This episode is for moments like those. The story for today is titled, The Training of Attention.
Dutch has been reflecting on his social justice and manifestation oracle card pull. A reading drawn using the Thesis of Us cards from the book Human Not Machine by Dr. Siobhan Ballasing-Williams, available from Amazon and Barnes & Noble.
And also drawn using the A Metaphor for Life cards from the book Walking the Universe, also by Dr. Siobhan Ballasing-Williams, and available to download and print from the Etsy shop Alchemy of Me.
The cards that came forward were Reclaim Abundance, Remove Socialization, Rekindle Openness, and Rekindle Wonder. Dutch is letting the reading sit beside him, carrying the cards quietly and noticing what reveals itself.
It is early morning, the house is quiet, but Dutch is already at his desk. He has a steaming cup of lavender tea beside him, and a stack of open bills in front of him.
This has recently become the pattern for his mornings.
Tea and finances.
Self-care and crisis management.
The soothing cup of tea calling for him to slow down and center.
The stack of bills asking anything but.
Dutch has been in a tight money season for a while. A season where the money coming in and the bills coming due have not been meeting each other the way he needs or wants them to.
To help himself navigate it, he has built a routine, a kind of crisis management action plan.
Before he touches a bill, he starts with himself. He goes to the YouTube channel, Alchemy of Me, and listens to his anxiety and money affirmations as he prepares tea.
Then he walks to his desk and begins.
He goes one bill at a time, makes one decision at a time, and he moves through one calculation at a time.
His lavender tea has become an important part of his morning ritual, partly because lavender is calming, and partly because it came from his own garden.
A garden he planted months earlier, one he tended, watered, and watched grow.
A garden from which he clipped lavender stems to hang and let dry near his kitchen window.
Each morning, Dutch now steeps a portion of those dried lavender flowers into warm milk with a little honey.
Although it is simple, it is his small act of self-care before facing what the day requires.
Today is the same as the other days he has recently had.
With his tea nearby, Dutch works through the stack of bills on his desk.
He pays what he can, defers what he cannot, and he does his best to move things around.
His mornings are full of calculating and adjusting.
Dutch doing the best he can to try and stay ahead of the bleeding rather than inside it.
When a bill is paid, he sets it aside, then immediately picks up the next one.
His attention never resting, never pausing to register that he had just handled a bill, never taking a moment to acknowledge that something was paid. Instead, it moves past that moment, his attention quickly turning toward the bills that are still unpaid, his mind moving toward the gap, going straight toward the deficit, laser focus given to what is still unresolved.
Dutch's attention working like a triage nurse in an emergency room.
Straight to the bleeding and staying there.
Today is no different. As he sits at his desk, Dutch has his full attention focused on addressing the gap in finances and on the bills. When suddenly, to his surprise, his pause alarm goes off.
Dutch stops. He sets the bill in his hands down and takes a moment to observe himself, the way he's been practicing.
His shoulders are not up around his ears the way they once were. His heart is not racing. His anxiety is present, but it is not what it used to be. The affirmations he listens to from the YouTube channel Alchemy of Me have been helping.
As Dutch pauses, he also reaches for his tea, slowly lifting the cup toward him. But before he can fully inhale the lavender scent, his mind begins calculating how many sips until the tea is gone, calculating how much tea is left in his cup, calculating how long the remaining tea might last him. And at the same time, he also unconsciously begins mulling over the cost of the tea. He thinks about the water bill for the garden, the soil, the supplies, whether gardening is something he should even be doing right now, whether he can justify it, whether he can afford it.
Dutch stops. Not in judgment, in curiosity. He realizes he is sitting with an act of care he intentionally created for himself, and yet his mind cannot seem to rest inside it, not even for a breath, before turning it into another calculation.
The realization surprises him.
And then curious questions emerge. Where did this thinking come from? Why does his attention organize itself around scarcity so automatically? Why does an act of self-care become a signal for deficit? Why does his mind move so quickly toward what is missing?
As he considers the questions, he does not find that answers emerge. Instead, he finds that familiar sayings begin to surface.
Hope for the best, but prepare for the worst. Fail to prepare and prepare to fail. A fool and his money are soon parted. Money doesn't grow on trees.
Dutch realizes that such sayings taught him where he should focus. They conditioned him regarding where attention belongs. They socialized him around where it was appropriate for his awareness to go.
The cultural idiom of hope for the best but prepare for the worst told him that having the best happen was a wish, a maybe, but the worst is inevitable, so build a strategy to prepare.
The saying of fail to prepare and prepare to fail has the message that vigilance is responsibility, that watching for what could go wrong is wisdom. And it also insinuated that if hardship came, responsibility for that went back toward the individual who failed to anticipate it.
The saying, "A fool and his money are soon parted," said that enjoyment is foolish, it is dangerous. That relaxation is not only foolish, but risky. That holding tightly is safety.
And the cultural idiom, money doesn't grow on trees, indicated that resources are fragile, and that loss is always closer than thriving.
So, it was no surprise really that Dutch found himself calculating both how much tea was left and the cost of it.
His mind was doing what it was taught to do, what the idioms advised. It was analyzing how things could go wrong, focusing attention to the threat, and preparing for the inevitable loss, responsibly getting ready for the deficit.
Sitting with the sayings, Dutch notices something else. None of them teach him to attend to what is present. None of them socialize him to register what is working. None of them teach him to notice what has arrived.
Instead, every one of them points attention toward what could be lost, toward what could disappear, toward the gap. The result is not merely vigilance. The result is a lens, a worldview, a shaped way of seeing.
Looking at the sayings together, hope for the best, but prepare for the worst. A fool and his money are soon parted. Money doesn't grow on trees. Dutch sees there is another underlying lesson in addition to vigilance. It's suspicion. Suspicion of ease. Suspicion of flow. Suspicion of enoughness. Suspicion of the future. Suspicion from which the nervous system learns that relaxing is dangerous.
The idioms do not only teach vigilance, nor are they merely advice. They're also a moral instruction.
When hardship arrives, responsibility points back to the individual, and the implication becomes, the person should have prepared better.
So it is no wonder that attention goes to the possibility of deficit, and that focus is placed on managing any possible gap.
The sayings also teach those around the person in hardship to point the finger of responsibility solely toward the person who is struggling.
Which means that accountability for the gap always stays with the person experiencing hardship and never extends anywhere else.
And this shields the structures that create scarcity from interrogation, allowing the mechanisms of scarcity to continue and the system behind the design and construction of scarcity to avoid discovery.
Dutch realizes he did not simply learn to scan for what was missing. He learned that scanning for what was missing was responsible, wise, and how to survive. Over time, vigilance stopped being something he practiced and became not only a way of seeing, but a lifestyle.
Dutch then remembers something else. The brain is wired this way too. Human beings carry a negativity bias. The mind naturally gives more weight to potential losses than equivalent gains because it evolved that way. The brain that noticed danger survived. The brain that anticipated threat survived.
That brain wiring has been inherited by everyone, including Dutch. And that wiring is not passive. It not only exists, it is easily activated. Dutch thinks about how quickly his attention had moved from the tea in his hand to the moment when the tea might be gone, and how he unconsciously conducted a cost-benefit analysis, calculating the expense against the pros and cons. How naturally his mind traveled toward loss, even though the tea was still there. He thinks about the brain's threat detection systems, always scanning, always monitoring, always looking for danger before the conscious mind has fully registered it. His brain wired and designed for survival, now operating inside a world of financial pressure, unpaid bills, and created scarcity. A world where survival is challenged not only by physical threats, but by psychological and structural ones.
Dutch thinks about how people often begin grieving losses before they happen, how they plan around the emptiness before it occurs, how they prepare for the absence and mourn what is not yet gone. And he realizes he had just done exactly that with the tea.
The tea was still there, but his attention was already on the moment it would be gone.
Dutch takes a deep breath in as he sits with everything. The sayings, the negativity bias, the survival wiring.
Some of it was inherited. Some of it was taught.
Dutch knew that the system did not create the negativity bias. He knew the system did not create the amygdala, nor did it create anticipatory grief. Those are part of the inheritance of being human.
But the system did help shape the stories, the lessons, the sayings, the socialization around money.
And the system has built conditions that keep both the inherited wiring and the learned conditioning activated.
The wiring of the brain that once ensured survival has become something the system uses to its advantage and also exploits.
Because a mind consumed with surviving the gap rarely has the capacity to examine what created the gap.
A brain in survival does not have bandwidth to look at the system and the system's constructed conditions of scarcity.
Such a brain is focused on survival and does not have capacity to look at and analyze the systemic structures that generate scarcity.
So, the system and its role goes unnoticed and unexamined, and the system and its constructed scarcity thrives, continues, and gets normalized without accountability.
Dutch thinks about communities who have not only lived inside system-constructed scarcity, but have been deliberately targeted by it.
Communities impacted by slavery, colonization, segregation, wage suppression, displacement, and discrimination.
Same scarcity, different weight. The same survival wiring, but a deeper gap. A steeper climb. A heavier burden. Dutch takes a breath. He needs a moment.
As he pauses, he has another thought. If attention can be trained toward deficit, toward loss, toward absence, could attention also be trained somewhere else?
Dutch does not know the answer, but the question feels important.
Dutch looks down at the tea in his hand. Some of it gone, some of it still there. And for the first time, he wonders if there is another way to look.
As Dutch contemplates, the oracle cards from the week inspire him.
The card Reclaim Abundance, inviting him to notice not only what is missing, but what is present.
The card of Remove Socialization, inviting him to see how his attention was trained towards scarcity.
The card Rekindle Openness, inviting him to remain open to the whole picture.
And the card Rekindle Wonder, inviting him to follow the question of could his attention be trained towards something more than the gap.
Dutch looks down at his tea once more. He realizes that the cup holds more than lavender. It holds questions that require his contemplation.
Dutch knows that the question of could his attention be trained towards something more than the gap, and the question of how that can be done, are two questions that will stay with him long after the cup is empty.
The end. If something in this met you, take a breath with Dutch and let it simmer for a moment. Let's breathe in. 4, 3, 2, 1. Hold together. 4, 3, 2, 1. And now we exhale. 4, 3, 2, 1. Thanks for listening. Until next time, keep noticing what reveals itself along the way. And remember, if you want your own readings, the Thesis of Us Oracle cards are available at Alchemy of Me on Etsy.